Hey, what's poppin', everybody? It's your buddy, Phil, on the mail again. How you doing? I hope your day's coming along nicely. Well, over here, the time is about quarter past the hour of 4 p.m. So I'm just putting in one more round. You know, got to keep fit. I've got a goal. I've got a target. That's why I'm on this mail, folks. I got a target. Just like you've got a target to get certified, I've got a target to get to my perhaps not so ideal weight. You know, if you look at that BMI chart, doesn't it depress you? Been looking at the BMI chart, pretty depressing. But anyway, today we're going to be taking a look at a question that I have served to my Savage on Saturday friends once upon a time. And the question goes a little something like this. Take a look. It states, your firm has been awarded a project, on and on. I'll let you read it. To revamp infrastructure on an abandoned land for use by the general public. The formal justification of the project. Hey, mute me if I'm annoying you. Mute Phill. I'm going to read it, all right? For people who may not speak English as a first language. Your firm has been awarded a project to revamp infrastructure on an abandoned land for use by the general public. The formal justification for the project authorization, and the legal agreements have just been put in place. The statement of work, though brief, must always be elaborated for clarity. What process should you work on next? All right, I'm going to mute my mic as I show you the different options. I'm going to let you figure it out. All right, are you ready to go? Let's take a read together. And I will annotate and cross a few things out. Okie doke. Select draw, and I will be canceling out any of the options I feel is incorrect. So, your firm has been awarded a project to revamp infrastructure on an abandoned land for use by the general public. Story. Nothing too relevant except we've been awarded a project. Okay. The formal justification for the project, that speaks to initiating, right? Project authorization, that speaks to develop project charter, and the legal agreements, which is one of the inputs to develop project charter, have just been put in place. So that means the project charter is likely to be in place from whichever angle you look at it, the buyer or the seller, okay? So you got a charter on the side of the seller, perhaps. You got a charter on the side of the buyer, okay? But your firm, right, has gotten the contract. And I'm guessing that when you say authorization is authorization across the board, okay? Because you're not still deliberating whether to accept the award or not. You're saying, yeah, we accept it. Contract's in place, done deal. Authorization is in place, done deal. So again, this tells me develop project charter is pretty much done. I mean, you've got the legal agreement, the legal contract, or whatever it is, legal agreement, okay? And you've got the verification, the business case. So that tells me this is done for initiating as far as develop project charter is concerned. Then it says, the statement of work, though brief, must always be elaborated for clarity. So out of nowhere, classic exam question, out of nowhere, out of the magician's hat, a bunny rabbit is pulled out by the ears, and there you have it, something that has very little to do with all that has been discussed for the most part. Because if the SOW is being talked about here, what use is it? The SOW is given to the prospective seller, right? For the seller to understand what the buyer wants. But your firm has been awarded the project. So the SOW doesn't really have much of a bearing here. We know that SOWs are of course going to be elaborated. It's obvious, okay? The SOW, you get it pre-planning. So this is just trying to send me off on a wild goose chase thinking about the SOW. Of course it's brief. And of course it has to be elaborated. Otherwise, how do you plan? And then it says, what process should you do next? So the summary of the whole story is this. You're done developing the project charter. What do you do next? Okay, so let's take a look at the options. I'm going to start from the bottom and go up. So what should you do next? D, project authorization document. From what I just told you, project charter's done. So I'm going to cancel D. D doesn't make sense anymore because I already have my authorization document. It says the project authorization has been put in place. You see that? Project authorization. So D makes no sense. C, develop project charter. I've spent a lot of time explaining that this has set me up to understand the authorization is in place. End of story, okay? So develop project charter is not what you should do next. That is what you have just done. Cancel that. All right. Next, create the scope baseline. So after you develop the project charter, there are a few steps, right, that come in between the scope baseline and where you are at the moment, right? So first of all, you would have to develop a skeletal project management plan idea. Then you would begin to flesh it out with plan scope management, for example. Then you define scope, then you create WBS. So let's keep B in our back pocket and look at A. A says, define project scope. That's define scope. Define scope comes before create WBS. So cancel B, and the answer, as we will soon see when the color changes, the answer is A. Define project scope. Now someone might say, but Phil, it's not a real process term. Well, on the exam, you'll come across a lot of correct answers that are not necessarily pinpoint precise process names, especially on the PMP. On the CAPM, maybe not so much, but on the PMP, I expect a lot of questions to use near accurate terms, but not pinpoint precise all the way through. All right? And that concludes our review of that question. And that concludes our time today with your friend Phil on the mill. I look forward to speaking to you again, probably tomorrow or next. We'll see how quickly the team responds to this question, because this is being recorded in advance of me serving the question. Ha 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 ha. They've got no clue what's coming. But again, this is kind of intermediate. I wouldn't say this is a crazily hard question. You know, I'll be shocked if at least 50% of folks didn't ace it within a minute of looking at it. All right. I'll speak to you guys again soon. Bye for now.